Hello and welcome to my little bookish corner of the internet. My name's Harriet. I hope you're having a lovely day. Today I wanted to talk through some books that I really want to reread. It doesn't have to be this year. If it is this year, that would be really cool, but I have got a lot of new books that I need to get through. But just within my lifetime, I would really like to get to these books again because they've left a hole in my heart that needs to be filled by reading them again. So I'm going to talk through them. Please let me know if you've read any of them and what you thought. So the first book that I want to talk about is a classic, and it's one that really surprised me when I read it. It's one of the first books I read by this author as well. So it's Persuasion by Jane Austen. This is just the absolute cutest little book ever. It's very romantic. I know obviously Pride and Prejudice is the one that people tend to talk about the most. It's the most popular, and for good reason. It is a brilliant book, but I feel like the romance within this novel is even more cute than the romance in Pride and Prejudice. So we're following our main character, whose name is Anne Elliot, and she was betrothed to this man, but basically got told that she was not allowed to marry him because of the difference in money. And he went away and now he's come back, and it's about them yearning for each other but not really knowing whether the other person feels the same, and obviously both of them getting on in this society where money is absolutely everything. Everyone's judging everything that you were doing and you have to put yourself forward in a certain way as well. So I just love this book. It's a classic that's not too long, so it was really easy to read. Also, this edition is beautiful, so just holding it in my hands just makes me really happy. And it's one of the most romantic and beautiful books that I have ever read. I know it's not for everyone because not everyone enjoys Jane Austen's writing, but personally I really love this and do want to reread it to revisit those characters and rekindle that love. Another book that I'm going to show you is actually part of a trilogy. I have spoken about it quite recently actually, but it is by my favourite author, Ursula Le Guin, and it is the Annals of the Western Shore trilogy. The first book I have here is Gifts. I do have the other two, I just don't want to bring them all into the room because I'm lazy. This series is super interesting. So it is a fantasy. I wouldn't say it's high fantasy. It's not too intense, it's very easy to read, and I do think that it is aimed towards like a YA audience. And in this world, the people that live there have these gifts that are passed on hereditary. So they're passed on through your bloodline, and everyone has a different gift, but they are all to do with the mind. So for example, some people can call to animals, so they use their speech through their mind and it helps the animals to come to them. Some people can make people go deaf. Again, that's to do with the brain. Someone that blinds people, you can be someone that kind of binds people and stops them from moving. It's all to do with the mind, and I think that's really interesting. We are following, in this novel, the first novel, two of our main characters who have grown up together, and what happens when neither of them really want to use their gifts anymore. And then they do actually show up in the next two books, but in those books we're following different societies where the gifts are not so prevalent. And I just really enjoyed this. I thought it was very interesting. I actually almost liked it as much as the Earthsea cycle, which is really saying something. But I do definitely want to reread it because I just want more time with these characters, and there's only 3 books, so I don't have much choice but to reread them. And I do, again, really love these editions. They feel really lovely to read. They're very old. All the pages are like super yellowed. But yeah, definitely want to reread these very soon. Another book is actually one of my absolute favourite books of all time, and I've only read it once, which doesn't seem to make any sense. So I do want to reread it again just to absolutely make sure that I loved it as much as what I remember. And I read this before I even had this account or my Bookstagram account or anything like that. So it's been with me for a couple of years, and I know a lot of people really love it. I actually found out about it through BookTube, and when I found it in the bookshop I was really excited, so I picked it up and I absolutely loved it. So it is The 7 Husbands of Evelyn and Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. You probably already know what this is about, but we are following this Hollywood starlet called Evelyn Hugo, and it's her complete life story. So how she became famous, the horrible and terrible things that happened to her, and obviously the 7 husbands that she's had and the relationships that she'd had. This book surprised me because I had no idea what was going to happen, and it was just phenomenal. It really does take you back to all these different eras, and it's very glamorous, very gossipy, and extremely emotional, and I just really want to reread this. I honestly might take it on holiday with me because it's just one of those books that you just want to like curl up with in the sun or in bed before you go to sleep, and you just won't be able to put it down. So maybe even on the plane, this would be a good book to read because I will just read the whole thing. But I love this author's writing. She makes very realistic and kind of flawed characters that you can't help but love. So definitely want to read this again soon. And then the last book is also a trilogy, and the edition I have is all 3 books. I've been talking about this author a lot recently, so you may not be surprised, but it's the Lord of the Rings trilogy by Jorah Tolkien. It's a classic. I really loved it when I read it. I feel like it touches on a lot of kind of hidden topics and subject matters that maybe you wouldn't expect, and the writing is obviously brilliant. J.R.R. Tolkien was an incredible writer, so beautiful, so talented, and just the stories themselves are incredibly magical. Obviously, I love fantasy, so this is like the best thing ever. I actually got this edition from the charity shop and really love it. It's massive, it's really heavy, but my first edition that I read was falling apart, so I've replaced it with this one and I really love it. So yeah, I definitely want to read this soon. This one I definitely won't be taking on holiday with me because it's so heavy. I am not going to be carrying that around with me. But what a wonderful series. I'm sure you already all know what this is about. If you don't, then I don't know where you've been. Yeah, those are just a couple of books that I really want to reread. I'm trying my hardest not to reread things that I have already reread. For example, the Harry Potter series, Twilight series. As much as I really do want to get to them again at some point, I'm going to focus on these books that I've only read once and then kind of go from there. Let me know if you read any of these, and also let me know if you do reread books. Is it something that you do? Is it something that you agree with? I think everyone is entitled to reread as many books as they want, as many times as they want. If you love something and you know that you love it, then just go for it. You know you're gonna have a great time, and reading is all about enjoying yourself and having those experiences. Yeah, anyway, that is it for me today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.